Joe Rogan's statement on video games, it's caused some controversy.
If this is what your living room looks like, I want you to know. Not a problem. Perfectly normal. Nothing to worry about. It's just a hobby. It's not taking over your life. If this is what your childhood was like, if this is what the inside of your brain looks like, not a problem. Just not to worry. No problem. In fact, this guy who built this museum to his own video game habit, he's a cool guy. Cool. This isn't just normal. It's cool. In fact, I hope that when I grow up, I can be like him. Oh no, wait. I'm already over 40 years old, so I guess I'll just have to fall back on Plan B and become like a kung fu master, like Joe Rogan.
More people just need to be like, Joe Rogan's wrong, because he's wrong. He is dead wrong, right? To say that you're going to go nowhere and by playing video games is like saying that you're going to go nowhere playing basketball.
You're going to go nowhere playing basketball.
Why are you going to the park and playing basketball with your friends? You're not going to be in the NBA one day.
Right. I get your point, but I'm not sure that you get your point. Playing video games is a waste of time. Playing basketball, also a waste of time.
To say that you're going to go nowhere and by playing video games is like saying that you're going to go nowhere playing basketball.
If you've been waiting your whole life to hear someone say this to you, let me tell you, you're going to go nowhere playing basketball. Dude, you're going to go nowhere playing basketball.
There is a slim chance that you're going to be a ninja or that you're going to have a career in gaming entertainment and make money. Just like there's a slim chance that you're going to work somewhere in the NBA, there's a slim chance that you're even going to be the ball boy. You know what I'm saying? So Joe Rogan's wrong.
Part of the problem here is uniquely American. And it's not that Americans are anti-intellectual. They just imagine that anyone they look up to is somehow much more intellectual than they really are. Michael Jordan. Do you think Michael Jordan ever read the complete works of William Shakespeare? Kobe Bryant. What do you think were the last 5 or 6 books he read before he died? Should we keep going through the list here? Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal. You tell me. Americans have not learned to regard athletes with the derision they truly deserve. Most of these people, and I don't even know of one exception, they are ignorant scumbags who deserve to be looked down upon with utter contempt. You should say to your kids, I don't want you to grow up to be like Kobe Bryant. I don't want you to grow up to be like Michael Jordan. I want you to have a better life than that. I want you to have a more meaningful life than that. You should be able to look at these famous video game players like Ninja or like PewDiePie and say, wow, I don't want to be like him when I grow up, and I sure as hell don't want my son or my daughter to grow up to be like that. But all of this is only possible. It's only thinkable if you open the door of your mind to the possibility that there is something more meaningful in life than steroids, weightlifting, and throwing a ball through a hoop to make people cheer and pay you millions of dollars.
For those that don't know, he came out with these statements. He basically said, people are wasting years of their life playing video games and they're not going anywhere, right?
The Witcher 3, 102 hours of playtime. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, 108 hours of playtime. Yeah, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, 93 and a half hours. I heard someone offhand refer to it as a 150-hour game. I guess he was a completionist. But, what? The Last of Us Part 2. What is this? Only 28 and a half hours? Well, Chuck, what could you possibly accomplish in 28 and a half hours of focused, dedicated The complete works of William Shakespeare. is only 21 hours and 20 minutes. You could have read the complete works of William Shakespeare in less time than it takes to play through The Last of Us Part 2. Not everyone can do kung fu. Not everyone can do jujitsu. And if everyone tried, not everyone could win. But yeah, you know what? Everyone could read the complete works of William Shakespeare. You could read something. You could do something that would make yourself into a better person and make the world a better place, especially when you're talking about hundreds of hours of waking, focused mental work. And that's what video games are. Video games are a job that you don't get paid to do.
Joe Rogan's wrong. Joe Rogan's wrong. Video games are awesome, and you're not wasting your life playing video games. I mean, some may be. Like all things can be addictive.
I've never heard anyone say that reading the complete works of William Shakespeare was addictive. And I mean, this was pretty much the situation comedy of its day. I mean, a large part of William Shakespeare is just light-hearted entertainment and ribaldry. I've never heard anyone say that doing anything really positive, really meaningful, and really rewarding is addictive. Not even like charity work to help the poor. Maybe that's the tragedy all of us want to overlook here, right, Joe? Right, Keem? I mean, maybe the problem is precisely that what people find fun, addictive, rewarding, it's only and exclusively the things they ought to discipline themselves to avoid.
I mean, some may be. Like all things can be addictive, but for the most part, you play video games because they're fun. You know, you're not wasting your life. You're doing what you love.
In some ways, playing video games is just a waste of time and can be compared to any other waste of time, although it is an especially significant waste of time for my generation and the next few generations that are now growing up. I can't sit here and tell you that video games are comparable to people watching TV or listening to the radio or listening to music. From my perspective, they're just not. I have never known anyone who adopted a TV show as their personal identity in the same way that millions of video game players adopt as their identity being a gamer or being a player of a particular genre of games, a particular series of games. And yes, you can mention Star Trek fans here, but when you think about it, how many hours per year did Star Trek fans spend actually watching Star Trek or attending events and conventions? When I was a kid, there was only one TV show broadcast. It was Star Trek The Next Generation. It's just not that many hours, not compared to even a single video game. And these people are buying and playing dozens of 80-hour video games per year. So for one thing, it's very different because of the role of the ego. Video games aren't just something they play. A gamer is something they become. Their sense of identity gets wrapped up in it. And look, the thing with collecting, there are also uniquely pathetic aspects of collecting video games. I really thought about this recently. Why is it so different from collecting books? Well, in some ways it's different, and in some ways it's the same. This seems kind of charming to amass a collection of these, lavishly illustrated pulp fiction books the way this guy has. I can imagine you have a room and filling up the walls with this kind of pulp fiction. It would have a certain kind of charm. And this guy is a collector. I doubt he's read even 1% of the books he owns. Like many video game collectors, a large part of the thrill is just to have a complete set. They're all numbered, they're all in order on his shelf, and he can sit there and work through the stack. But he's not actually reading these books. He is just collecting them. But to me, there's something rather pathetic in amassing what was ultimately produced as a soulless, for-profit, corporate industry. I mean, these books, they were commissioned and decided on by a board of directors at a heartless corporation that, you know, paid the money to create these beautiful paintings on the cover and so on. I understand that corporate background gives them much of their aesthetic. I mean, this world of for-profit Pulp Fiction publishing, it's not so different from a Disney corporation churning out one movie after another, or whatever corporation now owns Star Trek, Star Wars, and so on. There is this sense in which collecting, this form of collecting, in a sense, just makes you a slave to corporate America. Like somehow they're proud of this, and they have a checklist where they're trying to buy every game that was published for the Wii U, every game that was published for the PlayStation 3, whether it be Nintendo, Microsoft, or what have you. And they can't just behold that they're the errand boy for a soulless corporation. It is, in a word, pathetic. Whereas collecting stones that you happen to find on the beach, that happen to be beautiful to you subjectively, collecting stones from moments in your life that meant something special. If you picked up a stone on the ground one day when you took a walk with your wife, and you'll always remember that stone because you remember that day, that's a collection that revolves around who you are. It has to do with who you are. You know what? You could have a collection that revolves around someone you aspire to be, but someone you aren't yet, things you haven't accomplished yet, or you could collect things that help you accomplish those things. There are ways in which collecting books could be much, much more meaningful than this. For one thing, you could just collect books that you read and actually meant a lot to you, but you could collect books that you'd used in your own creative work, whether that's research or writing fiction. You could collect books where you're not just working against a corporate checklist, but where they're actually things that are hard to find, that are of some historical significance in some area that you have expertise in. So, you know, in my case, I've studied some obscure languages, and there was a time when I owned books that were rare, not valuable, not expensive, but rare and hard to find, that related to those languages and the history of those countries and those peoples. I don't have any of those books anymore. I've never been a collector, and I've never had enough stability in my life to collect. So yeah, there is something especially pathetic that I see here in the video game collectors. Because on the one hand, they're just making themselves slaves to corporate America in this abject, embarrassing way. And they refuse to be embarrassed about it. That's why they have to cling to this identity of being a gamer.